So I'd like to talk about peace. Now, how can we trust a government that goes in and literally demolishes tiny little countries for defense contracts? We know that they're just trying to boost the economy. No, not our economy, their economy. They're trying to get military contracts for themselves and take a little piece of the pie and get more power and, get a sure thing in the election year. So, what has been the same about our wars with other countries since Korea? Yeah, tiny little countries that cannot defend themselves. The United States is just going in and bullying countries. The domino theory is crap. There have been accounts of whole entire planes and tanks and things like that being buried underneath the ground in Vietnam so that they could spend more money. It's all about the military-industrial complex. This is all blood money. The economy that we are now on, the one in which the defense is the biggest piece of the pie. That economy started in World War II. Remember the Rosie the Riveter posters? Yeah, those had nothing to do with feminism. They are the military-industrial complex. The soldiers, the males, were gone to war, and the government tried to get the women to work on building the tanks and the ships and the airplanes, because it was that was the start of a new economy. It's called Keynesianism, and Hayek warned us about this. Hayek warned us about the war state, the warmongers. This is going to keep happening and keep occurring, and $700 to $900 billion will be spent every year, and it will keep going up and keep rising and keep rising, because that's the purpose of these wars. That's why the Democrats and the Republicans are all the same. They have the same master, and that's money. Okay? Obama is doing the same thing as George W. Bush did. The Iraq War was completely greed-oriented. It had been planned since 1998 by Condoleezza Rice, by Colin Powell, and Dick Cheney, and the whole gang. Right now, George W. Bush is being sued for crimes against the Iraqi people for that reason, on the Nuremberg principle. So you got to watch out for these elected officials. There hasn't been a decent president in office since John F. Kennedy. And people are living in the past. The Democratic Party is nothing like it was in the John F. Kennedy years. Um, that was the golden era, and the man was barely even a Democrat. I'd say he was more of a libertarian, an old school libertarian. Um, his friend Robert Frost certainly was. So we cannot really call what the direction that LBJ followed, um, Democrat, because he had really close ties to Nixon. He was friends with Nixon, and the Democrats and Republicans have been basically the same since then. And I don't want to use an old libertarian, saying, but it's true. It's just an observation that people make, and that's why, people say that. It's the same party. It just looks the same. Why do they act the same? Because they're both working off of greed. And so, I don't know, Obama may be a little bit more relaxed with like something like marijuana or something like that. That the Republicans are are more into the whole DEA thing. But yeah, I wouldn't say that there was much difference, because you can't just you can't just weigh somebody on the the um, the things that they do for the American people. Um, the little things that they do for the American people, like Obama said, we're not going to intervene anymore with medical marijuana, and that was a good thing. But he still is harming people overseas. See, and that's wrong, and he still hasn't made marijuana legal across the board. And, it's still a big government system. And that's all it is, and all it ever will be, until Americans actually, start getting tough on their politicians. I think in the 60s, there was a lot of fear of the the whole love generation, because people were starting to talk about the wrongs that the government has committed. I mean, they started thinking, I'm not trusting my government. And it started with Kennedy. It started with the Kennedy assassination. Um, Kennedy was assassinated, and then LBJ, sent more troops into into Vietnam, instead of pulling out as John F. Kennedy did. So a good president would definitely get shot. So it's a bad country that we live in. It's and it has nothing to do with religion either, or the end times. And that just completely turns the whole thing kooky. the government hides their war crimes uh, against small nations, and basically those are the secret societies that John F. Kennedy was talking about. He wasn't talking about the Illuminati, which hasn't even existed for hundreds of years, and I'd like to talk about that. So it's almost, I think it was 1875 when the Illuminati disbanded. So none of this superstitious stuff is real. It's just somebody taking advantage of it. It's pure fiction. But it's mixed with these conspiracy theories are mixed with the truth. So they make people who actually are serious look like crazy conspiracy theorists. But yeah, there's no such thing as reptilian shapeshifters. You can look in the dream cycle. There's a story about reptilian shapeshifters being found under the pyramids. It was a total, that conspiracy theory was a total ripoff of H.P. Lovecraft. So, these, not all these conspiracy theorists have the best interest of the people in mind. Why we should really be holding the government accountable for all of this money that they spend murdering little women and children. This is completely uncalled for, and nobody should tolerate the slaughter of the poor people in little countries. So this just an unbelievable kind of situation, and it'll keep going on, and we'll keep losing faith in our government, and perhaps that will be the fall of the United States. That the people will lose faith in their government. That's been the fall of many empires. When they step on too many toes outside outside their government, and when they step on the people's toes as well. So when a government just gets too corrupt, it's the downfall of the government. Like the Romans actually, made their coins out of one type of metal on the top and another type of metal in the middle, just like we're doing now. And it pissed off the barbarians who they owed a huge debt to, and they basically came in and destroyed Rome. And the people actually allowed that, and they opened the gates of Rome for the barbarians to come in and demolish it. So the fall of Rome was corruption, and corruption will catch up to a government. You can depend on it. and the government owes lots of money to lots of people. And so I don't even know if the United States will be around in 40, 50 years. Who knows?